Alright, so we're going to go and work through these. I'm going to go through these relatively quick just to make the video short. Always remember you can pause to take a look at steps, you can replay stuff. But kind of the goal right now, this is a you try. This is your opportunity to gauge how well you're understanding the content. And if you have questions, please come ask me. And just a reminder, you want to turn this work into me if you were absent, and this is your way to make up those participation points. Make sure when you're done with this that you show me this this work, these notes filled out, so I can give you credit for it. Alright, so for this one here, I'm going to start with flipping. So I'm going to move this M and flip it over to this side. I already have a 2M. I'm going to flip this M over, and it's going to become a negative M. And I'm going to take this negative 2 and I'm going to flip it to this side, and it's going to become a positive 2. Right? So remember, anytime you flip, it changes signs. On the right side, is this a war or an alliance? Well, same signs, so it's an alliance. They combine together to make a 5. Over here, I have a positive 2M and a negative 1M. This is a war. 2 minus 1 is 1. And we're done. We didn't have to divide anything because it's just 1M. We don't have to write the 1, but the goal is to get 1M on this side, or 1 of that variable. I should mention, because I get the question a lot, well, how is it different with it being M instead of X, like the previous examples? The answer is it isn't. It's the same process. The fact that they used a different letter doesn't change anything. If you would prefer to use X on these, you can change them into an X when you solve them. Right, let's go to the next one. So here I have the X on this side. There's a 3X over here that I want to bring over, so all the X's are on this side. And it changes sign. It becomes a negative, so we have negative 3X. Over here we have negative 11, and then this negative 3 is going to flip to this side and become a positive 3. Now in each side we have a war. On this one, who's going to win? Well, the negatives are, because there are 11 negatives, there's only 3 positives. So negatives have clearly a bigger army. So if I do negative 11 and 3, that will give me a negative 8. And then for these here, I have an X and a negative 3X. So kind of the same thing in that this is a war. They're going to fight each other. And the negatives are going to win. And one of these negatives cancel. This positive X cancels one of these negatives. So you're going to be left with 2X, a negative 2X on this side. Now, for your last step, it's going to be division. You always divide by whatever's in front of X. Since negative 2 is in front of X, we will divide both sides by negative 2. Here the negatives cancel, and you wind up with just X, because the 2 is reduced down. And over here, 8 divided by 2 is 4, and since it's negative 8 divided by negative 2, that gives you a positive 4. A negative, negatives cancel each other in pairs when you multiply or divide. So these two negatives cancel, and that's why you have a positive 4 as your answer. We'll go to the next one. Here I have 3 different n terms. So I have n, I have 4n, and then I'm going to move 8n to this side, and it's going to become a negative 8n. As far as numbers, I have a negative 16 here, and I have a negative 4, which I'm going to bring over to this side. And since it's negative 4, it's going to change positive over here. And now we're ready to start combining. Here, we have a war, because it's a negative versus a positive. Who wins? The negatives win because they have a bigger army. And in fact, after the battle, there'll be 12 negatives left over. Over here, I'm going to do this in 2 steps. First, I'm going to take a look at n and 4n. These are both positive. I can combine them. That makes a 5n. But I still have this negative 8n that I have to deal with. This is a war. You have 8 negative n's and 5 positive n's. They're going to fight it out. The negatives are going to win this war, and they're going to win by 3. And then divide by whatever's in front of the variable. And so you wind up with n equals 4 as your answer. So, for this one here, I'm going to move the 6n over to this side with the 5n. When I move it, it becomes negative, so negative 6n. And then the negative 7 is going to flip over here. It's going to change positive, so it's positive 7. And then we haven't moved the 12, so it's still negative 12. On this side, this is a war. There are more negatives than positives, so the negatives win. And when you do that subtraction, you find out there will be 5 negatives left over. On this side, this is also a war. And so 5 of these positives cancel 5 of these negatives, leaving only one negative left, negative n. And then, since this isn't a positive 1 in front of the n, you're going to have to deal with this negative. And the way we would deal with that is we would divide both sides by negative 1. That makes it a positive n, and then these two, when you divide, is just going to be 5. All right, 2 more. For this one here, I already have 2 p terms here, and I have another one there, so I'm going to move this one over. So I have 6p minus 2p, and then when this one moves over, it's going to change sign, so this becomes negative 3p. And this side we haven't done anything with other than move the p over, the 3p. Now we're going to do our combining. There's nothing to combine with the negative 5 here, so we're not going to do anything with that. But here we do need to start doing this math. 6 minus 2 is 4, so we wind up with 4p minus 3p equals negative 7. And then we will have another war here, and the positives win by 1. So that is just going to be 1p equals negative 5. And for the last one, now this one is an extension. We didn't cover a problem like this, but I thought I'd put one on there kind of as a refresher. We have this 8 and then this parenthesis here. Well, what does this mean? This tells you you have 8 of these 5x minus 5s. So, you know, I could draw out the tiles for them. Here's our 5x's. And when I draw them out, typically, I guess I'm not going to do the colored pencil this time. I'm just gonna shade them in, and shading is positive. So there's your 5x's, and then minus 5 would be 5 of these 1s, but I'm not shading them in. I'm going to leave them blank because that shows that they're negative. Shaded means positive, and unshaded means negative, and we're writing the tiles down. So for this problem then, it means I have 8 of these groups. I don't want to draw 8 more of these groups if you're okay with that. But you would have 7 more of these. Beyond this, you'd have 5 of those and 5 of these. Well, how many would I have total? If I have 8 groups like this, well, 8 groups of 5, that's 40. In other words, 8 times 5x is 40x. And 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. And now we're ready to go ahead and start solving. I'm going to move this 5x to this side and make it negative. So I get 40x minus 5x equals, and then I'm going to go ahead and move this negative 40 over to this side. And so that will change it to a positive 40 plus 30. Now we can do our wars and alliances. On this one here, this is a war, which would leave 35 x's, the positives win, so 35 x's. And if I add those together, that's 70. And then our last step, divide by whatever's in front of x. So we'll divide by 35. So that is x equals 2 if you do the division. All right, that concludes lesson 1.0 for geometry. So don't forget to bring in those notes for me to see when you've completed it.